Today I want to build a house in The Sims, but every room is 2 different decades. For our exterior, we are going to do 2000s and 1930s. I did not build my shell yet, specifically because I wanted to see what we would get for the exterior. And when you think 2000 exterior, does the word McMansion come to mind? I think what I'm gonna try and do is do like a McMansion looking exterior, but we'll go with like the color palette and exterior aesthetics of the 1930s. Chaotic roofing is like a signature of McMansions. What better game for chaotic roofing than The Sims 4? I love when there's an excuse for my roofing to look kind of bad. So this is our shell. While open floor plan really kind of emerged in the 80s, it really took off in the 2000s. 1930s was all about like minimalism as a necessity, not so much by choice. That was mainly because of the Great Depression. You saw a lot of industrial materials and like clean lines, very simple. I also see a lot of this type of like paneling, I don't even know if that's the right word, in pictures of 1930s exterior. Maybe something like this would give us that kind of variety. I'm kind of thinking Strangerville windows. However, the 2000s McMansions really had like these big windows at the top like that in the entryway. Like maybe one right there. Do the windows look too repetitive? I think they kind of look okay. If you don't know how to bring your house up on a foundation, it's just these arrows that point up and down. Now going back over to 2000, marble was super popular. I will give us some marble stairs. Maybe we'll do a marble pathway as well. I don't know, it kind of matches. I don't think the dark roofing is very McMansion, but it is very like 1930s. We also saw a lot of super-sized furniture in the 2000s. I feel like since this just fits, that's perfect. This does answer the question. What question? What if you took the minimalism of the 1930s and combined it with the McMansionism of the 2000s? Let's just move on. Our entryway, we are going to be doing 1880s and 2020s. Great. I'm considering this whole area the entryway, to be honest. In the 1880s, what you saw was a lot of motifs with like birds, cranes, flower blossoms, and stuff like that. Do you think it's a little too crazy if I use this wallpaper from Decor to the Mac? I think it actually works because though we are early in the 2020s, one of the things that is coming back is maximalism. Maximalism is back in a big way because in the 2010s, we saw a lot of minimalism with the like farmhouse decor obsession. So what if we use the mirror from Decor to the Max as well? Not to be dramatic, but this is kind of really working with my vibe. One of the things I was reading about the 1880s is that more is more. I'm wondering if we have our bestie, Miss Peacock right here. I actually lofted this like from the second floor. And yes, the roofing looks super weird, but I want to take this giant chandelier from Spa Day and hang it down into the entryway. I'd like to do a desk back here. And the color schemes that you saw in the 1880s were kind of like olive, sage, blue. And I think for our computer, we'll do the little typewriter. When was the typewriter invented? The typewriter was invented in 1868, so we're all good to put it in here. I did have to check. I have an important question for you. Come here. Does the Sarah Kendall entryway transcend generations? Because what if I wanted to add a shoe rack, you know? Surely they wore shoes back in the 1880s, and they wear shoes now in the 2020s, so like, they also wore coats. Like, we'll add a little coat rack. I like the look of this plant, but I'm gonna size it down with the left bracket key and raise it up with the 9 key so that it's small enough to fit on our desk. I think the perfect addition to this entryway table is the phone and keys. Really let us know that we are also in the 2020s here. Size down our little giraffes. I might add this antiqued history picture to lean more into the 1880s here. And it's very interesting. You saw in the 1880s, there was a decent amount of Japanese influence on home decor, so I'm adding those pictures from Snowy Escape. This is our entryway using design trends from the 2020s and 1880s. So because I gave us open floor plan, we're kind of gonna do this as a kitchen area. For the kitchen, we're doing 2000s again and 1970s. I am removing 2000s after this though. The rules that I made up say that if I get it twice, then I remove it. And just for consistency, I'm adding this floor all the way throughout. And so the thing is, 2000s kitchens and 1970s kitchens are quite a bit different. In 2000s, we saw sort of like the Tuscan style kitchen become huge. We also saw a lot of just dark kitchen cabinets, like really a lot like this. And the 70s was a lot about self-expression. The 2000s really did birth like the kitchen island era though. So I feel I would be doing a disservice if I did not give us one. And in terms of appliances, the 2000s saw a ton of stainless steel because everyone was excited about the turn of the century. Stainless steel was kind of signifying the futuristic era we thought we were all entering. I read an absolutely fascinating article to get all of this info, and I will absolutely link it down below. I do want to see if we could maybe get some like terracotta tile that doesn't look horrible, because something you saw in the 70s so much was terracotta tile. I just don't know if it's something we're really going to be able to swing. Do you think that this floor looks bad with the countertop? This is supposed to be a mix of 2000 style kitchen and 1970s style kitchen.
I mean, it makes sense. Then shouldn't it look better?
I was really hoping to find like a 70s florals kind of look for the wallpaper back here. I think this wallpaper will work. I don't think it's giving what I want it to give though. And I'm still torn on the tile. I saw a picture of a 70s kitchen and it kind of was like my dream kitchen and it had floral wallpaper. I don't know if we can do it. But if you think about it, the brown in the flower ties into the terracotta on the floor, but also kind of ties into the brown of the cabinet. So it works. And over here, if you ever have a bump out like this, I love to make it a little breakfast nook. That looks slightly 70s. There are these couches that are specifically angled to fit in there. There's a couple from Cats and Dogs, one from Seasons, and one from My First Pet Stuff. Here's what I'm going to do. So I want that to still be functional with the way that I've added the chairs. So all you have to do is go to your basement tool, draw yourself a basement underneath, and put your couch or your item down there, raise it up with the 9 key until you can see it up there. And now your lighting's gonna be kind of funky. So just put your lighting in the basement and that will change it up here. And then you can take your chairs and size them down. And the only reason that wouldn't be functional is if the chairs weren't gonna be functional either. Obviously, we're leaning more into the 70s on this side. I genuinely cannot tell if I like the wallpaper or not. Y'all are about to be really mad at me, but I did see a lot of these blinds in looking up 1970s kitchens. So do with that information what you will. So this is our 70s and 2000s Tuscan inspired, but 70s wallpaper kitchen. Now we have our dining area. We're doing 2020s combined with 1920s. So if you don't know, the 1920s was very Art Deco. Mirrors, metallic, bold colors, everything like that. Maybe not this table, but maybe these chairs would work really well for us. This table has those gold accents, which kind of match the chairs. The reason I'm bringing those chairs is because the rich kind of jewel tones were also big in the 1920s and are kind of coming back in the 2020s. I think the layout of this house is really silly. We have a big open space, but that's none of my business. Our main feature can be these mirrors from Vintage Glamour. And we have the globe bar. Vintage Glamour is like very Art Deco. Now hang on, pro tip, what if I layer these curtains onto the mirrors for just an extra ornate look? I actually don't hate that. What if I put the fireplace? It looks so good though. And the chandelier we have to do. Why do I kind of want to do an entirely Art Deco inspired build? Now going back to the 2020s, I would like to add a plant or two. Oh, that looks very 2020s right there. I wish I had more wall space. I feel like we could do some really fun painting. What if I layered these motifs from Get Famous on top of the rug? Just for a little extra bit of detail. And here is our 1920s and 2020s dining area. I actually think it looks good. I just really hate how I laid out this house. Now I have our living area over here. We're going to do 2010s combined with the 1920s again. This is gonna be really interesting because the 2010s was kind of like a mini minimalism comeback. In the article I read, it was described as the Joanna Gaines effect, where Farmhouse and everything was back in. People were romanticizing a more simple life after our technology overload. I think something that was such a staple, especially Joanna Gaines effect, was shiplap. I'm gonna try and make this very vintage 20s style couch work with some other stuff that we might have. If I could just find a swatch of this couch that would look good. I feel like this fireplace is really good. It really is a more rustic kind of vibe. I have no idea what to do for a coffee table. Oh, that's very Farmhouse. I think we should do that. I don't know what to do over here. I'm just throwing in some books. These curtains are also from the Vintage Glamour stuff pack. Even though they're so subtle, they are kind of giving us a little bit of that 1920s energy. I don't like where these curtains are snapping on the window, so I'm holding down the Alt key, moving my mouse lower so it lets me kind of slide it, and then I use the 9 key to raise it up to a height that I like a little bit better. I want like huge houseplants over here because I think actually like the biggest houseplant renaissance started in the 2010s. It was the 2010s and 2020s as millennials started growing up and realized that they weren't quite in the financial position to have children. They instead put that need to nurture something into getting houseplants. I'm telling you, it is so interesting how design trends come about and how what is going on in the world affects how we style our homes. I am gonna use this table from Vintage Glamour, and now I think we just clutter. And this is going to be our 1920s and 2010s living area. I actually think it kind of works all together. For this room, I'm not sure what I want to do yet. Either an office, skill building area, or we'll do a bedroom. We are going to be doing 1880s combined with 1990s. Well, 1880s was all about like maximalism and everything like that. 90s interior design trends were more minimalistic, kind of as a response to the very over-the-top neon bright decade of the the 80s. So I might take the color palette that was strong in the 1880s, the olives and the sages, and kind of do our 90s style from that. Here's one of the other window seats. That one's from Cats and Dogs, and it matches our bed pretty nicely. It does have kind of that more like terracotta tones that we'd be more likely to see in the 80s. The 1880s, that is. Something else that you saw a lot in the 90s was the rise of techno and grunge. And because of that, you kind of saw an emergence of more industrial furnishings. Something else that kind of gained popularity in the 90s was flea market finds, kind of a shabby chic aesthetic, and just repurposed items in general. So maybe some of these items were repurposed from the 1880s 110 years later. I'm gonna give us this computer to kind of fit with our 90s vibe. The well-traveled rug kind of has that ornate look as if it were from the 1880s, but the shabby chic look like from the 90s. I'm looking through debug, which you can find by typing in bb.show hidden objects and bb.show live edit objects, all one word. And I found this spray can and these cans of paint. So maybe, you know, there's that like crafty repurposed aesthetic. That's also where I found these like pipes. The dusty trinkets could be from the 1880s. I don't know. That one maybe brings in the like motifs. I kind of like the banana leaf one. Perhaps we could do this painting. And something I like to do with the tool mod is rotate it backwards just a little bit and then we move it forward. So it looks like it's sitting on this dresser and leaning back into the wall. I just think that adds a really nice like lived in aesthetic. Houseplants weren't a staple, but we definitely can include them. I think the stationery might be really nice to use here. This one is all over the place, I admit it, but this is our 1990s and 1880s bedroom. I think for up here, I'm actually just going to carry over our 1880s and 2020s aesthetic that we had. And let's pop over to this bathroom. We are going to be combining 1940s and 2010s. Something that was common in 40s homes was dark wood so that homes would have a more like cozy feel. And I feel like that works with our 2010s, you know, kind of like farmhouse aesthetic. Actually, I don't know too much about the bathroom aesthetic. I know that in kitchens, white appliances became very popular because it felt more sterile and clean. Looking it up, 40s bathrooms actually tended to have a little bit of a pop of color. And so I'm wondering if this shower tub combo might work because that's also like that pink kind of millennial pink. It's a little bit brighter than millennial pink, but it'll have to do. In terms of what we have in the Sims, I feel like this sink kind of works for our 40s. Oh, and we have a pink on that too. Wait, this is kind of coming together. For the 2010 side of this, I'm again just kind of trying to lean into the very white, bright, clean. I really wasn't expecting to go pink with this, but I'm in love. The slots on the sink, my favorite thing. Why does this tile work so well? It feels both 2010s and 1940s when it all comes together like that. Since I'm not sure if we'll be able to add a plant in here and make it functional, let me do what I do best, which is add my tiny living plant painting. This is going to be our 1940s and 2010s bathroom. Coming over into this bedroom, we're going to be combining 1960s and 1980s. Okay. No, could you not see the wheel in her full glory? There, you can see her now. 60s was very much about graphic and colorful design, the juicy pink, tangerine, orange. That was all super in. And when you move over to the 80s, it's kind of the same, but in a different way. It was really bright colors as well, but also softer pastels, kind of a Miami Vice inspired vibe. I know this bed is more 50s, mid-century, but I feel like that backsplash can definitely work for 60s vibes. Get us a chunky TV for the 80s. I really love this bed. I just don't know if it was the right vibe. To incorporate our 80s, we might have to change up the colors. And yes, this is the roof clipping in for reasons I do not know. Do you know why the roof is clipping in like that? I think we'll have to cover it up. It would not be my first choice to do like a big couch right there. I really wanted to lean into the fuchsia. I'm not sure if it's happening for us. I really wanted to have this wallpaper. I'm not sure if it's happening for us. Oh wait, we have this one from bowling night. It may be a little more 50s and you may still be able to see the roof, but I almost feel like that's exactly what we need here. These are all our eclectic colors that we were talking about. The 80s was also really known for like the Memphis design, Memphis styles. I think that these new shelves from the new pack are perfect for that, kind of with that color blocking. Like, to me, that is very 80s. I don't want us to stray too far from the 60s, so what if we have at least one lava lamp, if not 2 lava lamps? Maybe we could have 3 lava lamps. I also really like this dresser because in the 60s, furniture made of fiberglass and colored plastics was becoming very, very popular. I'm also decorating our wall with the decal from, what is that, bathroom clutter kit? Because that feels so quintessentially 80s to me. Desperately trying to make this all work. I'm gonna add some like funky flower rugs under there. I don't know what's going on with the windows here. I placed them so that they would look like that from the outside, but we're doing the keyboard as a representation of the synth pop that defined the 1980s. Oh, this is so 60s, isn't it? Oh, wait a minute. What if I accidentally accidentally added another lava lamp. It's very interesting that I used the matching side table from bowling night and the couch from bowling night, because in the 1960s, matching furniture became kind of a status symbol. Also, I'm adding the little knitting basket. I feel like craftiness was kind of a little bit of a thing in the 60s. I'm adding this item with the CDs and the little gaming controller. CDs became pretty popular in the second half of the 80s, and in 1988, CD sales has actually surpassed cassette tape sales, which is super interesting, but I am adding some vinyl because the 60s and the 70s were when vinyl sales really boomed. So this is our 60s and 80s bedroom. It doesn't look that good. It's kind of like an amalgamation of things and patterns, but we have our representation in there, I will say. Next, let's do this room. I don't know if we want a dedicated office in this or not. We are going to be doing 1960s again. We are going to be combining it with 1970s. There we go. So we've officially gotten both of those twice, so I will take those off the wheel. I was thinking of doing a music skill building room, but I feel like it would kind of fall short considering we don't have a rock band pack, which I would like a rock band pack. Please, The Sims, add a rock band pack. Anyway, what I think would be kind of fun is to do it as an office for an environmentalist, because one of the big staples of the 70s was environmentalism. Did you guys know that Exxon secretly knew about climate change in the 1970s, but publicly dismissed it because acknowledging it would be bad for their business? That's so funny. Not to derail us, but the 70s shag carpet, I almost want to try and do something like that. I'm kind of thinking, what if we did like a wood paneling for that 70s vibe? The 70s has to be one of the most interesting decades for home design because, like I said, about environmentalism, people brought wood into their homes. They brought stone, earth tones, indoor plants. Because of all the environmental crises that were going on, people wanted to feel more one with nature. I'm gonna do this word processor computer because home computers weren't really a thing in the 70s even, but for the purpose of The Sims, let's do that. We also kind of have our florals in this chair from the 60s as well. Apologies, but I do have to add the lava lamp. Definitely gonna bring in some of that green. Can I be real with you guys for a second? I was watching my first Every Room is Different Decade video, which was like 2.5 years ago, and I was like physically cringing. Like, I felt like it was not good. I feel like a lot of my old videos aren't good, but I literally just like spun the wheel and then looked up like the design inspo. Today, I have done my research and it feels really good to like know what I'm talking about. The thing is, this is hard because the 60s especially, and also the 70s, were not really home office times. I just want matching frames for those. That's a bit more 60s. I don't think we have a single paisley thing in the entire Sims 4. Is that true? I was really looking for some paisley for the 60s. Turns out we didn't get to use it because we don't have it. Do we have anything disco? There were also disco influences during that time. Shiny, metallic, things like that. These kind of work for like 60s with the pattern and 70s with the color scheme. And it's no Sarah Kendall home office without our diploma, our little patent. And so this is our 60s and 70s home office. I think it actually looks pretty cozy. For the final bedroom, we are going to be doing 1900s combined with 1910s. You would think because these decades were back to back, there would be some similarities, but 1910s was way simpler. There were like romantic, Craftsman, and folksy influences, whereas the 1910s were kind of like ornate, over the top, opulence. This bed, I feel like she fits it. I just saw a lot of like 4-post, if not canopy kind of beds in my inspo pics, and I feel like it is both the simple romantic influence of the 1900s and the more ornate style of the 1910s. I don't know what the heck is going on with the roof, but I'm putting another thing in front of this that barely even covers it all up. Just pretend you don't see it. I feel like this is a combo of both too. It's kind of like a Craftsman style and folksy with the wood, but the pattern on it is a bit more ornate like that. Also, for like some of these rooms, I'm not really going with the layout based on how it would have been in that time period. I am more so trying to do it with how I would normally furnish it in The Sims, but furnish it with the furnishings that would fit in that time period. I feel like wooden is kind of the vibe here. 1900s really was so incredibly simple, so I'm glad that we're kind of bringing in the more ornate look with the rug and the bed. Furniture-wise, this is looking pretty decent. I don't know exactly what the vibe is for the walls. We definitely could go something like this, bringing in those roses all together. Here I am, once again, feeling lost, but now and then, using these little curtains from Growing Together. They're just so perfect. The reason I made the curtains that color is to kind of bring in the red from the top of the bed there. And this is our 1900s and 1910s main bedroom. And for this bathroom, we're going to be combining 1900s again, 1930s. I don't think bathrooms between the 1900s in the 1930s saw too much of a like massive change. Like if you actually go and look up pictures, they're quite similar. I'm going to get us some standard kind of older looking tile. What I noticed in both of them that was pretty common was a standalone tub. So I'd like to add one there. The sink was really just out from the wall like that. I do not know what kind of vibe, but that's called the old time antique toilet, so we're gonna do that. But I don't know if it's one person with the green agenda going on. It looked like there was actually a lot of green, so I'm wondering if maybe I do that. I do not care if plants in the bathroom were not common in either of those decades. It's common in the Sarah Kendall decade. Okay, I'm sorry. The green agenda has won me over. I want to do some green in here. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. I feel like the green from the 1930s also kind of works with the 1910s, more folksy influenced. Is that too richy for 1930s, 1910s kind of bathroom? I'm gonna leave it. Sorry to the 1910s bathroom truthers who probably inevitably will find this video and tell me that I was so wrong for putting that in here. I feel like instead of taking distinct styles from each of the 1910s and the 1930s, kind of like put them in a blender and had them have a baby, and I kind of like that vibe too. And now we come out here to the back patio, backyard area. We don't have too much room. And I will say I only looked up interior design trends, so we're gonna be winging this. We are going to be combining 1990s and 1980s. Looking at this, it does look like backyards have stayed pretty much the same. There are some with a pool. There's some with an outdoor patio. I think through all human generations, something that has been really constant is our love for grilling outdoors, besties. We obviously couldn't just not do a backyard, but I really don't know what I'm doing out here. I will add a little trash can right here. It feels so weird, like we can't do that large of a pool. Maybe we could just fit one here? Something happened to my stairs out here. Uh-oh. I think our metal finishes on here work pretty well with the grunge, exposed brick, metal finishes, etc., etc. I really don't know what to do with this pool to be so real. Maybe we can get our 80s colors with the floaty? Oh, and I know. I was gonna do these colors for like the Miami Vice colors because I really wanted to feature those in our other 80s room, but we didn't really get to do that. And so I do think that that is going to wrap up the video. So if you liked this and you like the kind of every room is a 2 different blank, make sure to leave me a comment down below any other build challenges like that you'd like me to do, or just any other build challenges you'd like me to do. And if you made it all the way to the end, comment opulence, because I love the way that word sounds and I feel like I used it a few times in this video. Let me know your favorite decade for decor style. And if you did make it this far, please do give me a like. That really helps me out. And I know like 72% of you who watch my videos aren't subscribed, so make sure you subscribe down below. Turn on notifications. I also would love for you to join us at a Twitch stream sometime. That link is down below as well. And other than that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and a lovely tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!